Hello there, this is Big Benedict. Thanks everybody for coming back to my guide. This is Ninja Gaiden 2 on Master Ninja difficulty, for the guide for that difficulty, and this is Chapter 3. It's called the Thunderclap of Catastrophe. And we have a big gauntlet of enemies, just as we had in the previous chapter, and just as we will in the next chapter, have a long gauntlet of enemies to deal with before we're granted a save point. I personally think that this gauntlet is challenging, but it's not as difficult as the next chapter's gauntlet is. And some of the chapters have long gauntlets before you're granted the save point. Some of them just simply don't. But these Van Gelfs here, it's XXY with the Dragon Sword or with the Lunar. But after that, after the Y of that combo, these guys will stagger backwards, so you can't just press XXY and then follow it up with a Y. You have to do XXY, evade towards them, and then Y. That's what I've traditionally found about these enemies here. There are 3 locations on this map in the beginning where there are bats that come out, but the problem I was having, you could see it right on the screen now, is I'm trying to throw the shurikens at the bats to kill them and quickly get some essence off of which to charge attacks. But he's throwing the shurikens right into the Van Gelfs, not the bats. So, what you want to do here is select a weapon that you're more comfortable using. I'm not ordinarily more comfortable using the Lunar than the Dragon Sword, but it has more of an attack radius, and you don't have to be right next to the enemies necessarily before you release your charge. And I believe an ET will kill these guys, a 360 ET. The 360 attacks are much more powerful than the UTs. Although its UT does have that final flaming finishing attack it is powerful, I won't deny that. So it's up to you what you want to do. You can pick your weapon, like I said. You can also use the Falcon's Talons to do forward Y. But I have a problem using that weapon and having that move connect with the enemies and being vulnerable after the attack with these guys. But there are just so many of these guys here that I have no idea how many the spawn count is. I don't have the karma screen up on the upper left. I take it off because it's just annoying. A lot of people like it. I see a lot of pros playing with it, but it just gets in my way. Anything that gets in my way, even the counter for the arrows, I just take that off. I use the shurikens because I want those most visibility as I possibly can get. And I've also increased the brightness for this game. And these videos are going to be rendered at 30 frames a second. I've increased the sharpness a little bit, so it's a little bit more better. That sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it? Anyway, this is the Advanced Tactics Guide, like I mentioned, and there were probably some doubts people had about me even finishing this guide, because when I was rendering videos and publishing them to YouTube for Campaign 3, I got to this level and I just deleted the videos because I just couldn't tolerate the game anymore. It's just, I had a lot of fatigue with this game, but I don't have that fatigue anymore, so you will see this whole guide, the conclusion of it. So you don't have to worry about that. But I also have been thinking to yourself, well, you're saying this is advanced tactics, but I see you're using UTs, you're spamming the guillotine throw a lot. When I say advanced tactics, I mainly mean that I'm keeping in the same spirit that I kept with Sigma 2's Advanced Tactics Guide. You're not going to see, jaw-droppingly interesting and skillful moves. I mean, sometimes you might, but that's not my goal. My goal is just to play a straight-up campaign without cheating or anything like that. And I'm bound by a strong ethical oath from a Sigma 2 guide, because I could just grind for money and not tell the players, just do what I was doing before, but I would have that would not validate my campaign whatsoever, and I wouldn't even enjoy it. I wouldn't even want to do it. So, up here you're going to get the wind blades. And if you're doing the Test of Valor, I would say just upgrade the wind blades to level 2. If you are not going to do it and you want help with the gauntlet in the next chapter, because it is difficult, I would say to upgrade the Inferno. I think it's more helpful, personally, to have that up to level 2 rather than the wind blades up to level 2, even though I prefer the wind blades over the Inferno. There just is a place for everything in this game, except the Flaming Phoenix isn't very helpful. I think this game could have done without that particular Nimpo. So you're going to move forward here, and we dealt with those IS ninjas. And I forgot to mention, another reason I'm doing this guide is because of one boss, the second Elizabeth boss battle. I know it sounds pretty odd to do a guide for one boss, but there is no chapter select screen. I don't have save files for that chapter anymore. I deleted them. There is no chapter challenge in this game. But every time I've played that boss, with the exception of the Advanced Tactics Guide for Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, I did do the boss fight in a straight-up fashion without hiding behind Genshin's corpse. And every time I do that, I just feel so bad about myself. So that's why it was rewarding to do that fight without doing that little gimmick on the Sigma 2 Advanced Tactics Guide. So count on a straight-up campaign for that game. And I'm not fearing that fight as much as I did on Sigma 2, because I know in this game it's not as hard as that game. For the simple reason that she damages you more on Sigma 2, and I know she has different... Something about her is just not as hard. I can't put my finger on it. And it's more than just the damage you receive. But it could be that. I don't remember. I have to get there again and see what's going on. But just never take these IS ninjas lightly. They're a pretty simple enemy, but the thing is with those guys, even one of them, like if you're trying to deal with even one of them, they can get out of hand. I mean, you can get juggled very easily. Their attacks are very fast, but not hard to parry. I mean, it's not even that. So if you're spaced from them, what they do is they're not throwing the shurikens. They're trying to catch up to you in a sense. So that is a good opportunity for you to do a charge, like I've been doing around that corner right there. And up here, I think we're going to go and let's see where we are now. Okay, so we unspawn those archers, not intentionally, but just the game. Like I said in the last chapter, it's not my fault if anyone's getting unspawned. For some reason I didn't take any damage right there. That was helpful. And I believe this mage here that's left gets unspawned. I fucking hate that when they spank you like that. It's really drives me crazy. But going over to this location, it generally unspawns that mage. But just be very careful when you make your way back to him if you're going over in this location. And the reason I say that the Inferno is more helpful on the Gauntlet of Chapter 4 is because you're not guaranteed to get a kill with the Wind Blades. It's a very powerful weapon and it's so useful. It's just super useful. But if you're not close to the enemies, they're just going to get delimbed. And a delimbed enemy is still dangerous in this game. So if you're using the Inferno, that's a guaranteed kill on an IS Ninja. I mean, sometimes there might be exceptions if it's some kind of a fluke or a glitch or something. But if you've got that circle over them and you're throwing the Inferno, you're going to get a kill. It does take a long time for them to burn up and have their essence stagger in the environment, but you're going to get that kill, whereas I've just had so many more problems with the Wind Blades dealing with the Gauntlet in Chapter 4. So that's why I'm telling you, I think it's just more desirable to be able to kill two guys with one cast of the Inferno, because the Inferno doesn't get stronger as you upgrade it. It allows you to kill more people. That's the thing about that. So we're going to save our progress over here. And the one thing that I really hate about this game is it always freezes. It's so broad. Oh man, it's froze probably 10 times since I started this guide. I used to have the disc-based version of this game. Then I bought the digital version so I wouldn't have to hear my console being so loud. And now I have the digital version, but it's the digital version. It doesn't make any difference. The game still freezes, and it's not my console. No other game that I have freezes. It's just this game for some reason it always freezes. It's really, really bad. And it just, I don't know. I can't even, I have to pull the power cord out to start the game over again. But anyway, you want to go under that cable to spawn these enemies and fall back here, and then prepare your charges. Just make baby steps around the environment until you can get into a spot like this where they cannot even shoot you from over this location. They won't even fire. So get your UTs with the bow, and when you kill the enemies, killed 2 right there, their essence is going to just come right into you automatically. It takes a few seconds, but it will come into you, so there's no need to drag essence, no reason to expedite charges and waste money. Just do your UTs. So we had a little lull in the spawn right here, so I'm going to release the bow. And the thing about this, though, is that if they shoot you off and you fall into the area where the save point is, when you come back up here, they won't be here. So you don't want that because they're so easy to kill and you get a lot of money for killing them. Okay, so after you take care of this last guy here, you definitely want to go back and save it. And we're going to be doing a pretty tough fight. You could deal with the mages individually and then deal with the IS ninjas, or you can spawn the former and then jump down into the pit and deal with both if you want to. It kind of just depends. If I jump down and the Zuna drop these guys and I end up going off the ledge and going into the pit, then I'll just deal with both of them. I think that ends up happening over here, but definitely at least strive to get some UTs on these guys, because remember, they give you 1050. The figure that I was confusing with for 1400 is on the gold Vangelfs, whom we'll be seeing in this chapter from time to time. Those guys give you 1400, so I'm sorry, that's who I was confusing it with, that enemy. So the chest over here, a lot of the times also, you'll get, if you have full Nimpo and you have 3 Devil Way mushrooms, what that would have given you was a single yellow essence orb that would have equated to 6,000 in essence, because they're giving you the monetary equivalent of what you would ordinarily get if you didn't have your full stock of that. As you know, the full stock being all of the stuff in your inventory plus all of the flaming circles on your health bar indicating how much Nimpo you currently have. But this fight, in a lot of places in this game, I'm doing the fight and I keep dying because I'm trying to showboat, trying to show off, trying to do my ultimate best. Other times, I'm just competing with my own patience, and the load times are horrible in this game. You have to confirm that you want to continue, and then you have to see the title card for the level, and it's just really abysmal. So, my answer to that, not really an answer, but what I try to do is just say to myself, well, if I hadn't died, then I wouldn't be in that predicament to begin with. So what I try to do is, on the one hand, try to keep the showboating aspect to my guide and to what you're seeing on screen, with all the combat, but I also try to be as prudent as I can while doing skills that show off, flashy stuff. So we're going to cross this cable now and go on to the next section. Don't worry about dropping down here, because you can always go back to the store from the save point. I think I show it off in one of my guides, how to jump back up to this area. You see the ladder down there? It's not a full ladder, it's a broken one. So when you make contact with the floor, you're going to have an archer. These guys are very aggressive, very quick. The thing to note about them is that if you sunder their legs and they're crawling around on their arms, they're going to shoot the arrows at you. But if you just shoot their arms off, they have no... You see how he just has his one arm left and his sword? Then you could actually do charges. So this area down here, I couldn't properly demonstrate what this actually is and what it entails, because there's a lot of variables. For instance, if you kill those archers, if you kill the archers that were, I don't think you could see them, but they were over across the way from that save point. And that was risky. That was what I was just talking about. About you know, showing off versus being prudent. And a parry like that is so risky, especially with my low health, that I wouldn't have died. But what I was saying a moment ago was that there does come a point when the archers simply just run over to you, like this area here. But because I jumped down and didn't properly deal with the archers first, then that's why they moved over here and just like stood right over there across the way, and were, if you rewind that, you saw that they were just standing there. Now the chest over here that you're going to see that's already opened, you want to manipulate it so that it just gives you the 1,000 in yellow essence orbs, because if you keep opening it several times, you'll discover that you either get 1,000 in essence or you get the giant bats, which just utterly destroy you. So, you know, unless you're desperately trying to get things like Nimpo and health, go that route if you want to. Down here, though, is a battle it's very spacious, and one would expect that there would be a lot of enemies here, and there are a lot of enemies, but not in this version of Ninja Gaiden 2. In Sigma 2, there's a lot more enemies. Sometimes, I discovered one time when I was over here that the Vangelfs didn't spawn. And interestingly, sometimes on Sigma 2, I hope people are familiar with what I'm going to say here, but instead of the Vangelfs, as in this game, in Sigma 2, there are dogs, which don't spawn sometimes if you're lucky. And it's just kind of a weird, it's weird that glitch would be consistent from version to version. Only four Vangelfs down here, and I would just really advise you to not be greedy down here, because with these larger enemies, with the Vangelfs that give you 1,050, and with the gold Vangelfs that yield 1,400, it's very tempting to try to do those UTs and get your ultimate amount of money. But I've discussed this in my previous guides, that if you are taking a lot of risks, you're usually sometimes compensating for getting hit too much by using Nimpo, or you're just getting hit a lot and wasting healing items to replenish your health, you know, all the while that you're trying to make a lot of money. So sometimes just doing well and not wasting Nimpo, not wasting healing items, and just contenting yourself with doing OTs to give yourself, you know, at least a little money, or ETs, which will kill these guys, 360 ETs, to give yourself that amount of money, or chaining attacks and, you know, realizing that it is going to be less, 15% less if you're chaining attacks. So that's what I'm doing down here, but still, that inkling of greed always rears itself over here. See that right there? That was greed once again, because I know that right there, that's 1050 in my pocket right there. So just be very careful. This is not hard. It's just that other force that's trying to make you have the most money, and that greed aspect of it all. But just make sure when that cutscene ends that you immediately evade out of the way of that gold Vangelf, because he'll kill you if you're not at full health in one pounce. And this can be kind of aggravating if you keep failing over on this part and you have to do the battle before this without a checkpoint. But I only die here when I'm trying to be greedy. That's the thing. It's not hard whatsoever. I mean, we've already fought these guys. They were plentiful in the very beginning of this chapter. So there was a little greed right there, but I knew he was the only guy. And the reason I used the Nimpo is because I know there's a refill up ahead in a chest. So hit the save point and we'll be dealing with more Vangelfs. Okay, from this position in the sewer, once you save your progress, you're going to have a lot of Vangelfs to deal with here, the purple ones. So I'm going to equip the Falcon's Talons just to demonstrate how you can do the forward Y to delimb them. But as you'll see from my footage here, I only have this particular weapon up to level 1, and a forward Y, it doesn't delimb them every single time. it's not guaranteed to. I can't say that the level 2 and 3 is the same story, but I will update you a little bit more on that, because at the end of this chapter I will have this weapon up to level 2. And you might... Ooh, that was pretty scary right there. So I just wanted to do this fight a little differently than normal. In past guides, what I've done is I go up to the platforms up there and just have these guys chase me around and do UTs. But I was able to do a few UTs down here anyway and get some much needed money, as well as to see how I'm doing the forward Y. And that purple, that vapor breath that they do, those, as well as the fireballs, if you can cut through those moves with the evade and not take any damage. As well, they have a 2-hit combo, and then they'll follow that up with a combo that if you block it, you'll get the sound of your guard getting broke. So that's something you have to look out for with these guys. They're not as overpowered as they are in other iterations of Ninja Gaiden, namely Hayashi's versions, which are the shit versions, because he's ruining our franchise game by game. But I wanted to pull this up and to show you I'm almost at the point where I can afford another upgrade, and I just applied my Jewel of the Demon Seal, the first one of the game, to the Inferno. And that was for the reason that I've been mentioning since the video started, that it's going to be very helpful in Chapter 4. Not so much in the Test of Valor, but I could still get away with a victory on that. These guys down here, the first guy is going to spawn once you get up to about where the tunnel starts, and then there's going to be 2 more that spawn after him. It's just that dilemma of you get a large amount of essence for doing the UT kill, and you don't want to expedite it into your charge to make it go faster, because then you're losing out on some of that money that you just made. This is an optional area down here. It's completely up to you whether you want to do this or not. It's not worth it, to be honest. There's a chest up top, but you only get, I think, 1,000. But you're going to have to deal with these bats. They're very problematic. But the lunar works pretty well. The thing is, it's constant Y attacks will save you. Even if you get a chest with those mutant bats, if you're using the lunar, it doesn't matter what strength it is, and if you're constantly doing the Y attack, you're fine. You'll be able to get away with it. But rather than just go on the land and get eaten up by the bats, what you should do is go in the water, do 1 hit with the lunar. Once you have gone out of the water, that corpse doesn't have anything. Anytime I pass the corpse, it's because I know it has nothing I need. And here's the box up here. Remember, if this box gives you bats, just constantly tap on the Y button, and you'll be able to hopefully not take any damage. Let's see, 22062. Yeah, that was 1,000. Definitely not worth it. Well, I get anything's worth it, I suppose. And then once you get over here, we're gonna have that the gold Van Gelf, who I didn't get the on-landing charge, unfortunately, but you have to be very quick when you see them going off the screen to do that pounce. You have to be very conscious of how you're going to get your timing going for that. So that was 1,400 in essence right there that I got. And these guys spawn anyway, but I think you have to move forward to get them to move. Up here, the hit detection is very bad in this game for the arrow. I mean, as much as it works for other things, sometimes it's just simply more beneficial to auto-aim and than to manually aim here. But that UT divested him of one of his wings, but he's still going. That might have been another one. This always works out so that you kill the first guy by getting that on landing 360 UT, but there's always 2 guys here as well as one guy that just can't get up here, and you can't hit him with the arrow. Try as you might. I've tried it so many times. You can't get him. And one thing you want to be aware of here is getting knocked off by their fireballs. They'll knock you right into the water, and what'll happen is you have to come back all the way up. I think they'll be up here. Just really watch out. You see how that guy was pounding the ground? That stuns you and kills you so fast that you might not even know what really killed you. So I didn't want to use this grains of spiritual life here, but I decided that sometimes you just gotta kind of work with everything you have. What I decided to do here was take fewer risks, but use that grains of spiritual life and hopefully not get hit at all, so I can just go to the save point and save my progress, and maybe do a few UTs, and miss one right there. I think I'm gonna get these guys here. Even if you miss every attack of the UT, that final attack is an instant kill for anything if it makes contact with it. And then after this fight will be okay. The thing about this though, you could possibly lose out on some kills to the left if you're really conscious about your score, and if you want, that's good. I mean, however you like to play the game, however it's funnest for you, that's great. I just wanted to let you know that if you go over to where the archers are on the left side, where there was a crystal skull long ago before I got it, as well as that life of the gods in the water. If you spawn those guys and then go over to the save point, I think they unspawn. So then you'll come back and you'll try to get your kills. You possibly get your 1,000 per essence for those 2 kills. It's almost 1,000 for those 2 guys. If you do an arrow UT kill on both of them, they'll not be there. So that's just an issue. So I'm going to use these 2 pieces of essences. Did you see how, if you rewind that, I had 2 pieces of essence staggered, and to make sure that they didn't come into my person, or that I didn't absorb them, to be technically accurate in this game's terminology, I guarded and then I blocked, because if I hadn't been guarding, it would have came into me. That the closest piece of essence anyway. But there's 2 guys over here. There's the first guy. And if I remember correctly what happened over here, because I did this earlier tonight, before I had gone on to do some other things, one of which was to almost beat the Vanquish final boss. But you see how I didn't make it up there. It's inconsequential, because up there is simply a crystal skull if you haven't got it, but I've already long got my 30 crystal skulls. So this is the only item that's important over here. Unless you don't have the crystal skull, but if you're on Master Ninja, I assume you've probably got the skulls already. And the skulls in this game, how it works is that you'll get 30 of them, and then you'll get the giant crystal skull, which I think it's a karma modifier if you're really interested in karma runs. Save your progress here, jump up here, and then there's going to be 2 Van Gelfs. And these guys can be completely controlled and manipulated so that you can get your maximum amount of essence. So what I've been doing in this guide is trying to do my UT kills, because I know they're important, and I need to get a lot of weapons, things I want. So I'm trying to do that, as well as bring some new tactics, even though it's not financially like the best thing to do for me. It might be the better thing to do for the guide, though. That's the thing. So you'll want to save it before you try to open this chest. What I would recommend is just continually trying to open this chest. So see how much it gives you. 35, 5, 4, 2. So 4,000 plus right there. If you do get the yellow essence orbs, probably the quickest way to restart from that checkpoint is just to press select and go back to the title screen, then reload your campaign. Now, coming over here, I didn't save my progress. I usually do, but I've been trying to be a little more risky and save at fewer intervals in my campaign. But we just have that one archer who somehow makes his way to the other platform where the store is, and I wasn't aware of how he even did that. So I'm trying to look to see how he did it right now. Maybe he did a wall run. They're quite capable of a lot of. See, I don't even know how he went up there, but those guys are very acrobatic. I mean, they know how to do the wall runs just like you do. So. Okay, so I'm going to teach you, well, not teach you, but show you a very good way to deal with this next section here after I go to the store. Kick the door open and then fall back. And you're going to have, I think, 4, 5 IS ninjas simply just dropping in. They're coming from the open door up there. So just prepare your charges because they're going to drop right over here. And if you can... just get your money really quickly, get it, and then try to do it. See, right there, I didn't really need to do an on-landing charge. I think there's one point where I simply just didn't have enough time. And I could have if I had been expediting charges with essence staggered on the map, but that's just a waste of money, for my opinion, But once the last guy there is dead, you're going to notice that these guys... you see the gate over there? You're going to notice that these archers are just going to start running at you. And since they're on a platform, they just keep running at the screen in a really weird manner. But it's really easy just to take them out with arrow UTs. And any guy who isn't the last guy that you kill, you're going to have to drag his essence over here. So just be very careful. I don't think I messed it up at all. But it's very easy, and the reason I switched to the Dragon Sword right there is because somehow I just feel better dragging essence with this particular weapon. I think I'm more accustomed to its animations. But you don't even have to aim here, just auto-aim for you. The auto-aim in this game is very, very excellent. Like most everything in this game, if not everything in this game. And once a piece of essence just goes right into you, that means the fight's over, and you'll also see your health regenerate. So, there we go. And if you want to save your progress, go for it. What I'm going to do is, since I have enough money now, I'm going to upgrade my Falcon's Talents to level 2. But I'm not going to actually use them quite yet. I'm going to get my Incendiary shurikens right here first. These are wonderful. You can do ETs and UTs with these and just devastate enemies. So that's another reason I think this game is very fair, especially with the IS ninjas. Sure, they spam theirs, but you have the potential to spam them as well. Right back at them from this point on in the game. I did want to note, though, it's very important, especially if you didn't watch my last guide, that course that has the Incendiary shurikens, and I use the word, there we go, eat that motherfucker. I use the word C-O-R-S-E from Old English, because that is how they traditionally spell the word corpse, C-O-R-P-S-E. I'm just an English major, so I'm interested in linguistics and old spellings and ways of saying words differently. But that course up there that has the Incendiary shurikens, you can get them as many times as you want. But the one store that is left in this game, in this chapter, will not have them to sell you. They start being sold in chapter 4 store, the very first store, onward. It's just that for some reason, the last store in this game, in this chapter does not have them for sale. And I don't know if that's an oversight or whether it was to try to balance out the Test of Valor and people trying to because you really couldn't take advantage. There's no taking advantage of it. I mean, they only give you 30, and if you're going into the Test of Valor, you can only bring 30. So there's nothing the player can do to, to being able to benefit from having those at the last store. That there's nothing that would make the player have an advantage. And I didn't know you can get knocked off by a shuriken from that ladder, but I was pretty pissed, as you can well imagine. But I haven't mentioned the boss for this chapter. It's the worst boss in the game. It's the most broken boss you'll probably ever fight. It's just a big fucking mess. It's an atrocity. His name is Giga Death, and you'll need a lot of items to deal with him. Maybe even a Talisman of Rebirth, just to comfortably deal with that son of a bitch. Now, this always has fish. I believe it always has fish, and it gives you a lot of money. So what it had, 26860, 326, probably the same amount of money before. But that chest is just too far away from any save point for me to try to manipulate it. But I usually get the fish. Okay, at this point I went back and upgraded my Falcon's Talents to level 2. And I'm going to do this differently than I did in the previous guide. What I'm going to do though first, and I would advise you to do the same thing, is to take out this archer right here. Because they're across from him on the platform, there's going to be 2 other archers, but they won't interfere with your confrontation with the many IS ninjas who've also spawned below, and whom we can't see right now. The Falcon's Talons were actually getting in the way of my reticle, so that's why I switched it right here to the Dragon Sword. I should be able to get this guy right here. He just moved over to the left a little bit. He will expose himself eventually if you just creep up a little bit. And what I would do, excuse me, a moment ago I mentioned that I'm doing this differently. I think I did. I just started this takeover again. You'll have to excuse me. So, normally what I do is take out all the IS ninjas with arrow UTs and get all the money I possibly can. I'm almost at the last save point currently. I've been filming the game and doing the recordings in tandem. Well, not so much in tandem as just playing the game and then coming back and recording here and there my audio commentary. But definitely use these the Incendiary shurikens. You've got an infinite supply of them. What I wouldn't recommend though is well, first of all, don't forget to stock up on them, because this is the last, that corpse right there that has the ISs, that's the last time you'll be able to get any. And if I were you, I wouldn't use any until the next level. Going into the level 4, I would have 30 on hand right away, because it'll make it a lot easier. You can buy the Incendiary shurikens in the store that is in the beginning of the chapter, but it is a hassle if you're not prepared, because what I'm trying to do here is prepare you to not only beat this game, but prepare you ahead of time so you're not inconvenienced like I have been many times playing this game. But I'm not going to be inconvenienced this time, and I'm going to try to prepare you for everything. You notice that Ashel up there to the right is just running straight ahead. They always do that. So, with preparedness in mind, what you need to do after this battle, you definitely want to... I don't think I even saved it, but don't use... I mean, you go ahead if you want to, but I'm just telling you the best thing to do. First of all, you want to start Chapter 4 with the arrows. You want to have arrows. So that means that... Just try to... I mean, if you have to go and buy stuff at the store, just keep it to a bare minimum, because when you start Chapter 4, you have to... I mean, if you're low on supplies and you need stuff, every time you die, and you'll probably die several times, you have to go to the store every single time and buy stuff, and it's just really, it just takes so long. You know, you buy everything, and then you just automatically die if you're not doing well. So if I were you, I would just not even use the Incendiary shurikens until Chapter 4. Come there with 30. And then also make sure that you have your arrows equipped when Chapter 4 starts. It seems like a minor thing, but you start off on that chapter having to kill bats. So if you don't have those selected, then you have to select them every time. So it's not a big deal, but it ends up being one if you keep restarting the chapter over and over. So what else? Oh yeah, this part's annoying. These bats here are optional. Don't do this if you don't want to. It's really not even worth it. But I am going to be killing everything in the game. I mean, other than that, you will need a lot of money and supplies if you're going to be doing the Test of Valor. I'll probably be skipping it. It's even nice to have a Talisman of Rebirth for the Giga Death boss fight, although that is a very expensive item. And when I get to the final save point, I'll probably have enough to buy one, but I don't think I will want to buy one because I could possibly upgrade a weapon or buy a lot of other supplies that I would need. And I also have several Lives of the Thousand Gods that I haven't used. So at any given point in this game, in my entire campaign, I will always have less health than I possibly could have, because I'll always be reserving those Lives of the Thousand Gods for boss fights or whenever I need a heal. A very necessary item that you can use whenever you want to, unlike in Sigma 2 where it's just auto-applied when you get the item. So we have a couple of annoying fights coming up. The one that I just did, in which I cursed so many times, not just cursed the fight, because it just kind of defines what this game is to me. It's not hard, but it's not easy. It's just somewhere in that gray area where most of it is just kind of suffering through the loading screens and just dealing with some of the bullshit that's in this game. So, bullshit like that, I don't think those IS ninjas were in Sigma 2 there. Okay, so this is really... it's tough and it's annoying. Don't be tempted. There is a big temptation here to use the Incendiary shurikens. It's so helpful. But you've got... Here's the thing, why waste Incendiary shurikens when instead you can just use the arrows that are free at the base of that fallen train car, and there's an infinite supply of them. So what I do is I just jump and stun with the arrow, get an on-landing ET, and then just take that and kill them, because that's the best way to do it. I'll be going in depth about on-landing arrow charges in the next chapter. But basically, the best way... Okay, there will be an edit over here. Sorry I had to drop that thought for a minute. All you need to do right here, though, is stay on this platform. That chest has Nimpo, which I'm going to use in the next fight. Am I dragging Essence? Yeah, I'm dragging Essence. These auto UTs will get the Vangelfs, but what happens is one will spawn, and then you have to go trigger the others. So I forgot about that. Sorry about that. So I always like to bring this strategy to the guide. There will be an edit over here because I think I did the flying swallow. Did the flying swallow off this platform, and I fell into the water, and one of the Vangelfs jumped down with me, and he drowned himself. And when that happens, you don't get the essence that Vangelf could have potentially given you. There we go. See, that was the edit. An ET with the Dragon Sword is absolutely nothing on the Vangelfs. Same with a Lunar, but if you do the 360 Lunar ET, it kills them, guaranteed. So what I'm doing here is, whenever you hear me, or not, well, you don't hear me, but what I'm doing is I'm listening for that dissolving sound of the bodies, so that I know, without having to look over there, that they're deceased, and then I could drag the essence over to me. You'll definitely want to save over here. You'll notice that little fade out right there. and I'm going to equip the lunar, and I have the inferno equipped because it's much more helpful for dealing with this section. I think I missed. No, I got that charge. I cannot begin to tell you how much I detest this here, because you have Vangelis, and then you also have the, what are they called? I forgot what they're called. They're just those bugs down there. I think they're garbage bugs or pill bugs. But the thing is, I tried to fight the Vangelis and the bugs at once, but when I was doing that, I wasn't maximizing how much I could possibly get by just killing the bugs alone. And it all kind of equals out in the end if you think about it. You know, if you're wasting a lot, if you're throwing a lot of Nimpo, you're gonna have to end up buying that back. So, like on the bugs, I killed all of them with UTs, but I had wasted 3 uses of my my Nimpo up here trying to kill these guys, and I got 20,000 for my efforts from killing the bugs with UTs, but I did not even get 21,000, which I would have to spend. Is it 7? No, it's 6,000. So I made back my money. So it's just that you have to perform well in this game, or you're going to end up wasting a lot of money. But there does come a point where you're reloading so many times, you're dying so many times, that I just say to hell with it. If I have to waste it, I'll do better at some other point in the game. Okay, so all the Vangelis are dead. What I like about the Inferno is that it kills those guys in one shot, and I have 2 free kills per Nimpo. But the thing was, I was using the Wind Blades, and even though it's at level 1, it doesn't matter, because if I had it at level 2, it wouldn't kill those guys outright. It would just delimb them, and you know, why waste that if you can kill them instantly with the Inferno, is my thinking. So a second ago you saw me flash the screen. I had like 44,000. That might seem like a lot to you, but I've had 500,000 here before, because I've grinded for money. Not on this area, but you know, in other areas I've mentioned before in the game. So when this fight is over, I think I had about 60,000 plus essence. But that really isn't enough, because you know, a Talisman of Rebirth is 50,000, and then you're back to having, you know, just a little over 10,000 left. Here I would use the lunar UTs, not the 360 UTs. It's just more effective for killing these guys, especially with that flame, that final flame attack. And after this fight, what I did was I went back and saved it, which is pretty normal among players, I would imagine. So go back and save it, and then I'm going to get the box with that Nimpo. So when you see the cutscene up here, or the transition, I will have my Nimpo refilled. So that's kind of good and bad. It's, you know, I hate to waste it at this part, but you know, just decide where you want to use it. Just use it where you. I only use it when I need it, or when I'm just at my wit's end and I need to use it to finish off some guys. So these guys should almost be dead. They are very deadly. Just don't let them hit you, because they can jump on you and stun you very easily, and it takes away a hell of a lot of your life. So I think there's one more guy left. Just make sure you always do your UTs. And then here we go. There's the last guy. I'm gonna put the screen on to show you how much I earned. It was about 20,000. Okay, so after that confrontation, there's really not much to do left, except, oh, we haven't made it up here yet. Watch out for the archers. What you want to do is jump in the air, fire an arrow in the air, and then on landing, hold down the B button to do your charge, just like you would with any other weapon. So what that does is it allows you to get the proper amount of time in order to release your charged up arrow. And then when actually, see how I missed that one? We're just looking for an ET. The game is so perfectly designed that oh, he went down there, didn't he? It's simple, and I'll be saying it time and time again in this guide. Arrow in the air on landing ET, and then that will delimb the guy. And then it's just up to you. What do you want to do with them? Just, you know, what do you want to cut them up, a Zuna drop, and try to get some essence, some Nympho essence. Okay, so up here we have you're going to have 4 IS ninjas. So if you go right where this area is, it's very easy to get charges off on these guys because they're not going to throw ISs at you as they're climbing the steps. So just collect your essence, fall back, and charge. There's just 4 of these guys. And up ahead, I did do the Test of Valor. If you've never done it, you should probably try to do it. It's tough. It's got those undead ninjas and all the mages, and they're really grab happy, and it's kind of frustrating when they grab you. But I did it one time, but I used 2 lives with 1,000 gods, so I started over, and then I just only used 1 lives with 1,000 gods. So that footage is not going to be in here. It was in Guide 2 that I made, so I go over it plenty. But this can be a tough situation just to get to the save point. I think you can unspawn these guys if you wanted to. You'd have to go back pretty far. But something about the situation, if I recall correctly, maybe you cannot unspawn these guys. But I'm going at them very heavy with the arrow UTs, or excuse me, not. There's never time to do a UT because you're stunning them just long enough to get an ET to dismember them. So I like this corner right here. See, jump stun on landing ET and missed it right there. So I'm gonna go back and just do it until I can. So the Test of Valor, you will get a lives with 1,000 gods for completing it. And even though I had to use one during the fight, at least I brought it into my inventory, and I was able to not only fill myself up during that tough battle, but give myself more health than I had before. And coming off that battle, I still have 2 in my possession that I haven't used. And before, I mentioned that you probably shouldn't use the daggers until level 4, but I remember that they're purchasable in the store right before any encounter goes off, and it just depends. If you have enough Nympho for all the Van Gelfs that you have to fight prior to Giga Death, it's okay to use those. But the thing is, you don't want to get to this area and not have any Incendiary shurikens because there's no going back, and you can't purchase them from the store. It's really weird. These guys can be unspawned, the archers, and I'm even. You would be very much benefited by saving after this as well because it's a tough fight. And redoing Giga Death, I didn't struggle on him like I usually do. I think I died like 3 times. But I don't think I was doing enough 360 UTs with the Lunar Sword. And by the way, all my weapons are only at level 2. But traditionally I would have to use every item in my possession to beat Giga Death, including a Talisman of Rebirth, which I don't have, and I didn't need one. Okay, so this guy needs to be taken care of. So jump stun on landing, ET, dismember him, then he's going to run down here, and I'm going to try to do a charge off, but I think I missed, yeah. But I'm trying to get some essence from him. Just make sure you have, make sure you have the arrows selected for Giga Death, because you'll need arrows. You'll be shooting him in the face, preferably. And like I said in the beginning of Chapter 4, you're going to need your bow, so it's going to be equipped anyway if you've fought Giga Death with the arrows equipped. And Giga Death, he really is a cheap and broken boss, but there are ways to deal with him. So 20,000, that's all I have left. I think I went to the store and bought a couple more heals to heal myself right there. So I'm just about at full health, and I'm gonna do this fight, which is probably, I don't know, it's harder than Giga Death, probably. It just depends what you're using. The Lunar works really well here because you can kill a Van Gelf with a 360 ET with the Lunar. But I think I only used Nimpo once or twice here. So in this section, you want to just throw the daggers like crazy. That's all I could basically say to you. If you're gonna later on down the road, you're gonna say to me that I can't do what you do because I don't have what you have. That's not an excuse. You have to be prepared for this game. It's a game where you need to be prepared all the time. Okay, so I got one of my Nimpos back right there. That was good. I'm just wind pathing off guys' heads, and I'm just throwing these daggers. Very, very helpful. They're very strong. And even if I throw all of them, I can still repurchase them at the beginning of Chapter 4. It's actually not that bad of a gauntlet. Chapter 2 is probably harder. And, once we get into Chapter 4, we'll be able to get a lot of good items. We'll be able to accumulate a lot more wealth. And possibly upgrade at least one more weapon up to level 3. Well, I don't have anything at level 3 currently, but at least probably get the Dragon Sword up to level 3 or the Lunar. Can't recall what I want to do. But there's just a lot of these guys. Fewer of the Gold Man Gelfs than these guys. But I think I ended up making quite a lot of money here. Just because of all the charges. And I think it's better to use the Inferno as well on Giga Death, because if you hit him right in the face with it, sometimes you can get quite a lot of health off his health bar. So that's exactly what I did, but I forgot to switch to the Inferno. So it's just those types of things that make the game more convenient. If you have everything selected, if you have a proper loadout selected when you get a checkpoint. Because this game, I wish it were more like Vanquish, where whenever you die, that's what you start with. Your loadout, that is. You don't have to save it or anything. So that's the last guy. Now just move forward until you get the cutscene. I've edited it out. But you wanted to start off by getting him hit in the head, so that takes away about that much. And then go for the 360 Lunar UTs the entire time, coupled with arrow UTs to the face. Now, in his wake, he's going to be throwing these fish at you. He's got an electric pulse attack, and he also will summon the Face of Death near the end of the fight, which is instant death, I believe, no matter how much health you have. I think it might not be instant death. I mean, it's instant death if you have about how much health I have. But we're simply looking to hit this guy in the face, as well as to use the Lunar 360 attacks. Just watch out for that projectile attack. He does it whenever he's closing in the distance between you and him. But the thing about this fight is that you've constantly got to use your Nimpo to get iframes and prevent all of this stuff from just hitting you and just instantly killing you, because there's so many of the fish all around, as well as him doing his pulse attack and his projectiles. But this was really good here, and if you have the Lunar up to level 3, you're going to have even an easier time here. But I think he summoned the Face of Death right there, and I think he summons it twice too. So here I'm preparing a charge, and he hit me before I could let it go and build up the iframes. Just don't hesitate to use as many items here as you need to, because it's a tough fight because it's not made very well, and the fact that it had to be cleaned up in Sigma 2 just tells you that a lot of people were unhappy with it, especially the people who made the game probably, as well as the gamers obviously. So you don't have to get all his health off of him. Once you get about as much as I have, he's going to drop. And even the fish attacked me there, so I needed the iframes to get over to him. and just press the Y button to execute him, and that's it. I'll see you in Chapter 4. Thanks for watching.